Okay, here we go. The council meeting of September 7th, 2021 is called to order. We'll stand for the pledge of allegiance, and I think it's about Dean's turn.
Whose?
Didn't hear whose turn it is.
Mr. Mayor, who would you like to lead the pledge?
Deidre.
Deidre, okay. And then everybody else needs to mute their mic, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Deidre.
My pleasure.
Donna, will you do a roll call, please?
Yes, I will. Councilmember McDowell,
Present.
Councilmember Bode,
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Here.
Mayor Dorsey,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Peterson,
Here.
Councilmember Inesco,
Here.
and Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Feast is absent this evening.
Okay, Deidre, could you make a motion to excuse her?
I move to excuse Councilmember Megan Feast from tonight's meeting.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Megan, you're excused. All right. Does council have any late changes to the agenda? If not, okay. At this time, I would like to remind members of the public that they can make comments during the public comment period, as well as any items listed on the business agenda or the action agenda. When making a public comment, you will need to raise your hand electronically on the Zoom app, state your name and whether you reside in the city limits, Mason County, or reside elsewhere. Option number one, join the Zoom meeting by clicking on the link that is displayed on the city's webpage. The link is listed on the agendas and minutes page under the tab that says more. Option number two, email City Manager Jeff Knighton. And option number three, call Jeff Knighton's office phone. Both the email address and phone numbers are displayed on the screen of Mason Web TV streaming video. All right. Anyone have a board report? Okay.
I have a board report, but Mr. Mayor, perhaps you'd like to mention the meeting that you and I had with Stephen Whitehouse just prior to the last study session.
Yeah. Deidre and I and Jeff Knighton met with Steve Whitehouse, 2 weeks ago, I guess.
August 19th.
And on the 19th, right. And it was a good meeting, and Steve let us know how he felt about things. And we kind of, I think we came out of the meeting with both sides, learning something. So I don't know if Deidre, you want to add a little more?
Just to provide some context, Steve Whitehouse had reached out to the mayor about the watershed property and what the future of that property might look like, some concerns, ideas, and wanted to kind of flesh some of those out. There was also some open dialogue about the process, about how that property had been discussed as it relates to the workforce housing and the current RFP that's being developed by City Council and what that process looks like. So continuing to keep the lines of communication open, but it was a good meeting and good chance to visit with one of our constituents. I just wanted to report that back to the group at large.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Where's Donna? Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Donna, do we have anyone interested in making a public comment tonight?
I think we may. We do have a couple members of the public here. So let's see. Dale. Okay, we have, Mr. Mayor, we have Dale Elmland
Okay,
who would like to make a public comment. So Dale, you'll need to unmute yourself and then you have 3 minutes. And I'm ready to start the timer whenever you are.
Well, as long as you can hear me, I guess it's time.
Go ahead.
My discussion point tonight is twofold. One is the community parks, our city parks. I'd like to address the fact that we have community members, everybody in the community has got some concerns about our city parks. We have action items that are heading towards Brewer Park and the exchange for the Brewer Park property. And I won't address that right now, but we do have issues with occupation of a couple of our city parks by people that kind of make it difficult for most of our community to enjoy our city parks safely. And so at this point, I would like to have the city council bring up a opportunity for a community forum at a nearby future date, and set that up and let the community bring up some options now that the law enforcement in our community has got our hands tied by the state legislature for resolving some of our issues. I think that our citizens of our community might have some answers, some tucked in somewhere in our brains. And I think that a community forum would be the answer. We need to have that forum set up so we can discuss how to take back some of our community parks safely. And so I'd like to have that set up. Second issue I'd like to have brought up is a discussion with our city law enforcement and our community brothers in the sheriff's department in having them start wearing their Class A uniforms in the general public instead of their jumpsuits. They get their feet on the beat, so to speak. Their jumpsuits are great, but the community resolve having the presence, the children, the elderly, having them get the visual aspect back to the hearts of our community. The jumpsuits are wonderful, but the Class A shirts and pants, it's best to be seen once in a while on the beat downtown, walking the beat, maybe only a block or two away from their vehicles in the community with the shirts over their vests, just talking to the people. Yeah, I know it's difficult at times, but it's got to happen once in a while.
And you've just reached 3 minutes, Dale.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
okay. Sorry for the pause. I was writing something down. All right, thank you, Dale. All right, we'll move on. The only business item is a resolution regarding the C Street landfill. Public Works Director Jay Harris has more information for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. So C Street landfill, we've been giving council quarterly updates and we're getting to some decision points. It's actually some good news tonight. So the C Street landfill, just a little bit of background, it's 16.7 acres of city property and it's west of 101 at the end of C Street. It was used as a landfill from 1928 to 1981. So the city had it as a landfill for a long period of time. Prior to 1928, it was a gravel quarry, so we filled in a hole, right? So the city deposits domestic garbage in there, some sewer sludge over the years, fly ash from Simpson lumber and Rainier and other materials that would normally at that time go into a landfill. So the landfill was closed in around 81. And in 2016, the city entered an agreed order with the state to prepare a draft cleanup plan and work on progress to basically seal off the landfill and decommission it. So about a year ago, the draft plan was submitted to the state, and the recommendation in the draft plan, or the highest recommendation, was to install a low permeable cap over the top of the landfill, put in fencing, signage. I had come up with a monitoring plan and record some deed restrictions on the property. So the state, the draft plans with the state, they want to bring it to the public for public comment. This action before you tonight will move it to the state that we agree with the draft cleanup plan and the new agreed order. Is for the city manager to sign, and that will allow us to go to public comment and for the order to be issued by the state, maybe with a revision, depending on what happens in the public comment period. The next steps is after the public review, the order will be issued, and then we'll actually begin design of the actual improvement plan in the agreed order. And to cap and close the landfill. And then we probably have enough grant money right now to get through the design. Brooke, Kiltz, and I were talking about that today. We don't have enough money, though, to actually complete the capping of the landfill or the construction. And so we'll be actively looking for grants to complete the entire project. And so that's my presentation this evening, and I'm open to questions.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Should we pause for 30 seconds? Donna?
Mr. Mayor, we don't have to do that anymore since we're on
Oh, okay.
Zoom. That,
Awesome.
but we do need to see if there is any public comment.
Okay, I think Kathy had her hand up.
What is low permeable soil cap? What is that?
Yeah, so a lot of the ground around Shelton is real gravelly and sandy, right? So when you dump water on it, it disappears very quickly. Low permeability is clay type of soils, and it will keep water from infiltrating through the top, migrating through the material, and going out through the bottom. So they'll put down, they'll smooth everything out, they'll put down a liner first, and then put low permeable material on top of the liner. And basically they don't want any rainfall to go down through the material underneath.
That never has a chance of cracking or breaking, does it?
The actual soil cover, well, with time as it freezes and thaws and dries, but underneath that you'll have the geotextile membrane, which with today's technologies, it's 100-year membrane probably plus, especially when it's not exposed to ultraviolet radiation.
One more question on that. Now, we're at high, we have the garbage dump at the high part of Shelton, and gravity pulls down and can go right into Goldsboro Creek, right?
Yes, there's groundwater monitoring wells that have assessed that situation, and it's in the full report. The putting a low permeability cap on it will mean no more water is passing through it to take it into potentially the groundwater system.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else? All right.
I'm glad that we're at this point. This has been going on since the 80s, and it hasn't been until the last 5 years. The previous commission and this council has taken it seriously, and it's really time to get this taken care of.
I agree. All right. So does anyone have a motion?
It's a point of order, Mr. Mayor. We still do need to ask for public comment prior to moving on to the motion. Although we don't
Oh,
have seconds, we just need to ask if anyone has comments.
all right. Do we have any public comments?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Now, do we have a motion?
I move, go ahead, Deidre. I move to forward agreed order number DE 19541 and resolution number 1207-0821 to the action agenda of September 21st, council meeting for further consideration.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to forward agreed order number DE 19541 and resolution number 1207-0821 to the action agenda on the September 21st council meeting for further consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. Okay. Now on to the action agenda. Finance Director Aaron B. Miller is here to share information about updating the Shelton Municipal Code.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Good evening, Deputy Mayor, council members. Aaron B. Miller with the city's finance department. The ordinance before you was first heard on the business agenda of the August 17th meeting. And what it is, it's a cleanup ordinance to Shelton Municipal Code 8.08. Just by way of quick reminder, when in 2017, when the city started using a private hauler, most of the provisions of Shelton Municipal Code 8.08 became obsolete. And what this ordinance does is it cleans up the language that's no longer necessary within that chapter. I will just add that at the meeting on the 17th, council asked that we add a sentence to the last provision, 808040 violations, just to help ensure that there won't be an immediate violation and that the city will take time to help anyone in outside of code to cure that violation. And so the very last sentence of 8.08040 tries to do that. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Do we have a public comment?
Let me take a look here, Mr. Mayor. No, we have no public comment.
Okay, can I ask for second reading of ordinance number 1973-0621?
Ordinance number 1973-0621, an ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, amending chapter 8.08 of the Shelton Municipal Code relating to solid waste collections.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we adopt this amendment as presented.
Second.
Did I hear Joe? Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 1973-0621 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have another item from Aaron, a contract amendment with Waste Connections.
Thank you again, Mayor. This item is a companion item really to the previous ordinance. It was also heard at the August 17th council meeting on the business agenda. And what this item does is it amends the garbage contract with Waste Connections, section 9 of that contract. And it really, what it does is it further clarifies the delinquency processes and the collections processes that Waste Connections can use for any delinquent accounts. And it also adds some reporting requirements from Waste Connections to the city. And I will just add that in between when we talked about this on the 17th and tonight, we have further clarified some of that reporting information on 9F. Waste Connections contacted us and asked us just to kind of help clarify that even more for them of what the city would like them to provide, and that is included in this amendment now. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a point of order. I read the wrong packet. I was one down. Do we need to go back and fix that?
I believe Councilmember Oniski.
Hear what you said, Harry.
I said, I read the wrong one. Do we need to go back and fix that last one? The 1973-0621?
I think you did the right one.
No, I was
No.
down.
Did you do amendment?
Yes,
Did
I did.
amendment.
Yes, I went.
Then we do need to redo it. So would you like to redo that, Councilmember
Yes.
Nesco?
Let's finish off with the item that we're on, and then we can go back and just
Okay.
read the right language into the record.
Right, okay. So did I ask you if we had any public comment, Donna?
Let me look, Mr. Mayor. No, we don't.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt this amendment as presented.
Second.
All right. Council members have any questions or comments for Aaron? No? We have a motion and a second to adopt this amendment as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Okay, so let's go back to ordinance 1973-0621.
And
I
that-
move.
That's that item was item number 1 on the action agenda, and it is amending, or I'm sorry, updating Shelton Municipal Code 8.08. So Councilmember Ionesco.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 1973-0621 as presented.
And I think Joe seconded it.
Second.
All right. We had no public comment. Give me the second reading again, Donna.
Yes, let me grab that piece of paper.
Of ordinance number 1973-0621.
Yes. Ordinance number 1973-0621, an ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, amending chapter 8.08 of the Shelton Municipal Code relating to solid waste collections.
All right. We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 1973-0621 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now we'll move on to number 3. Public Works Director Jay Harris has information for us about updating the fee schedule and storm drainage charges for commercial accounts.
Good
Jay?
evening again, Council. Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. So storm drainage fee schedule was adopted by council, the updated schedule in June of this year. And the resolution tonight begins the new rate charges on October 1st. The system, the Tyler system, we're keying in a bunch of information and data. And so that will be ready before October 1st. It also includes council's desire to have a 20% discount for commercial customers. That is an additional consideration on top of the original ordinance that was passed in June. And there's been no changes to the resolution since it was presented to council on July 20th. And that's my presentation. I'm available for questions.
thank you. Do we have public comment, Donna?
Let me check. No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Will you give me a reading of resolution number 1204-0621?
Yes. Resolution number 1204-0621. A resolution of the City of Shelton, Washington, updating the city's master fee schedule and adopting a temporary discount on storm drainage charges for commercial accounts.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution number 1204-0621, a resolution updating the master fee schedule and implementing a temporary 20% discount to the monthly storm drainage rate for commercial customers.
Did we get a second? No?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, James. Now, any council members have any questions or comments?
I have a question. Is this just the discount portion or is this the whole portion of rates?
This is just the discount portion, and as Director Harris mentioned, getting the information put into Tyler was causing us some problems. We finally got that solved. So basically what this is doing, we understood that council wanted to have the commercial property discount for 1 year. So we are doing that for 1 year, not starting in July, but starting in October. It'll run all the way through September 30th, 2022. So it's still that 1 year period.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was voting for the discount and not the actual rate increase that we implemented. So that was it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 1204-0621, a resolution updating the master fee schedule and implementing a temporary 20% discount to the monthly storm drainage rate for commercial customers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we have Police Chief Carol Beeson has details for us about surplus police vehicles.
Good evening, City Council. I presented on August 17th about 3 Crown Victorias the police department has that are no longer feasible as police vehicles, and we would like to surplus those vehicles. We estimate we would probably get about $2,100 as one of them is just a scrap vehicle. And we would like permission to go ahead and take care of that and send the other 2 off to auction and 1 as scrap metal.
Do we have a public comment, Donna?
No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Would you give me a reading of resolution number 1205-0721?
Yes. Resolution number 1205-0721, a resolution of the City of Shelton, Washington, declaring city vehicles surplus to the needs of the city and disposing of such vehicles for the common benefit.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion, please?
I move that we approve resolution number 1205-0721 as presented.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. I think I heard Deidre. All right. Anybody have questions for Chief? All right. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 1206-0821, a resolution approving Appendix J be included in the joint. Wait a minute. Joint,
And now you're on the wrong one, Mr. Mayor.
am I on the wrong page here?
You're on the right page. Just go up to the top.
We're on item
Oh,
number
here
4.
we go. We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 1205-0721 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have one more item for Public Works this evening, a resolution to approve the city's inclusion with Mason County in a comprehensive solid waste management plan. Jay has more information for us.
The council, this is a solid waste plan. Mason County, we're under their solid waste plan and their recycling programs. And so they need to update it by the state legislature, had some mandates that came down. They need to update their solid waste management plan to include a contamination reduction and outreach plan called the CROP. So the CROP is a really interesting thing, okay? It has a bunch of stuff like prioritizing recycling programs, establishing acceptable materials to recycle, gather baseline contamination data of some of the recycling material, evaluate some costs to reduce the contamination, and do a bunch of education and outreach. So by approving this resolution tonight, you will be authorizing the city manager to send a letter to the county saying, hey, go look at all this, do this study, and improve your recycling programs for the benefit of all of us. And there has been no changes to the resolution since the last meeting. That's the end of my presentation.
All right, thank you, Jay. Do we have any public comment, Donna?
Let me take a look here. No public comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Would you give me a reading of resolution number 1206-0821, please?
I will, and I think Director Harris is going to win the award for the longest title over Director B. Miller here. Resolution number 1206-0821, a resolution of the Council of the City of Shelton, Washington, approving the updated comprehensive solid waste management plan to include Appendix J, contamination reduction and outreach plan, and authorizing the city manager to sign a letter of concurrence.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution number 1206-0821, a resolution approving Appendix J to be included in the joint Mason County City of Shelton Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Plan as written, and authorize the city manager to sign the letter of concurrence.
Second.
All right, thank you, Joe.
No problem.
Any council members, questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 1206-0821, a resolution approving Appendix J be included in the joint Mason County City of Shelton Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Plan as written and authorize the city manager to sign the letter of concurrence. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, our last action item is regarding the Shelton Arts Commission. Community Development Director Mark Ziegler has the details.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Pleased to bring you tonight a recommendation for 2 appointments on the Shelton Arts Commission. We have a unfilled position and then a unfilled term with the resignation of Ko Chang. Larry Harbaugh and Robin Bishop have submitted letters of interest to serve on the commission, and staff is recommending their appointments today. Mr. Harbaugh's term would run through the end of 2023, and Ms. Bishop would run through 2024.
Any public comment, Donna?
No, there isn't, Mr. Mayor.
All right, can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the appointment of Larry Harbaugh and Robin Bishop to the Shelton Arts Commission.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Larry Harbaugh and Robin Bishop to the Shelton Arts Commission. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. And I'd like to welcome them aboard. All right, we'll move on to the administration reports. Jeff, can you give us your manager report, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. A couple things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. First is an update on our branding project and our new website that we're working on. Both of those are on track to be done in January, so we can launch both of them, both the branding and the new website in early January. We selected a graphic artist, designer today out of several that were submitted, and they'll get to work right away producing some new logos and that type of thing for council to take a look at and for our community to have input on before we select the final one and move forward with that piece of the project. I really think people are going to enjoy the new website. Our communications specialist, Mary Ricker, has been working really hard on that, along with our information technology department and administrative services, working hard to get input from all the department heads in the selection process. So those two things are going along really well. And I'm excited to see the end result. School is back in session, in case anybody hasn't noticed those giant yellow school buses moving around. Great to see, very happy to see that. Hopefully we can continue on that path of getting back to what it used to be like back in 2018, 2019. I'm looking forward to that a great deal. One piece of not terrible news, but somewhat delayed news is that the glass grid for our project on Park Street. As I'm sure we've all heard, materials are very hard to get and very hard to get delivered on time. And that's the case with our glass grid. I've heard everything from restaurants suffering a hardship because they can't get their materials, and the same is true for our construction projects here in the city. It shouldn't delay, the lack of that material shouldn't delay the project too long, but it will be a slight delay over what we expected. So we'll make sure to keep both council and the community in the loop on what is happening there. And lastly, tonight was Director B. Miller's last evening with Shelton. So he made his last presentation to you. We are in the recruitment phase for new finance director. Position closed last night at midnight, and we had 13 applications, several really good ones it looks like in there, and we'll be moving forward with the interview process for those that will participate in that process toward the end of next week, potentially early the following week. But we hope to have the right candidate in that position behind that desk and helping us with our finance department needs by early November, or I'm sorry, early October. Yeah, won't be quite that long. But in the meantime, we have great staff here that are going to be putting everything together for your budget, your consideration of the budget coming up toward the end of this year. And looking forward to that process as well, and making sure we have your priorities right in that document that guides us through 2022. So with that, that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I'd just like to thank Aaron for giving us 2.5 years of his expertise, and he will be greatly missed. I think he's brought us into the 21st century.
Yeah, a lot of our success over the last 3 years has been due to his work helping with the budget, making it transparent, making it easier for all of us to understand. It is the document where council puts their priorities, and I think we've got those front and center. And also thanks to the tremendous work of Aaron and Terry Schnitzer with the annual reports and with our clean audits. A lot of that, almost all of that credit goes to them to make that happen, and we are incredibly thankful for it.
Also, wanted to echo that too. Incredibly thankful for Aaron and his time here at the city. And I'll say it was great to hear some other than just being a stellar public finance expert for the city, but he was also a good leader. I heard a lot of discussion at the staff recognition event last Friday, and just kind of bending people's ears. How are things going? And a lot of people had a lot of really good things to say about Aaron. So that's always great to hear. So sad to see you go, but best of luck and thanks for your time here.
Good job, Joe. Yeah, we wish him nothing but the best.
Mhm.
All right. Anyone else?
Just before we hop off, Jeff, you wouldn't mind going over the looking ahead agenda as well?
One of these days I will remember. My apologies. I even had it right here. Sure. So on the 14th, a week from tonight, council will have a study session on our local road safety plan. That is basically going over our data, crash data, that kind of stuff, to determine where and how, where primarily at this point, we can focus our efforts to make the transportation network around Shelton safer. On the 21st, we have the SMPD meeting at 5:45. We'll start a little bit early. That's 2 weeks from tonight, to go over that piece of it. And on your regular council agenda, you will have public hearings on a couple of different ordinances. One is the 2021 budget supplemental that we've talked about a little bit. And second will be the public hearing on the debt management policy. That's one of the policies that we put together just to make sure that everything's in line with best practices around the state. And also included in that is the public hearing for the investment policy, which is the same thing, making sure that we are following best financial practices as accepted throughout the state through the Government Finance Officers Association and the Washington chapter of that association. And then finally, you'll have not a public hearing, but an agenda item about our surplus policy. And we can talk a little bit more about that, but basically, if we have 3 police cars that are worth $2,100 total, is that something that council wants to see, or is there a threshold at which below that it does not necessarily need to come to a public meeting? We'll talk a little bit about that. And then on your action agenda, you have the business item you heard tonight about the agreed order with the Department of Ecology. And that is all that's upcoming, and happy to answer any questions about that.
None. Any new discussions? All right. Our next council meeting will be on Tuesday, September 21st at 6 o'clock. We also have a study session scheduled for Tuesday, September 14th at 6 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned at 6:43.